I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For that, I think you and I should remain standing because Judge Morrissey has joined us to do our official and unofficial swearing in at this point. Bernadette and I both have signed our oaths of office, me earlier today, Bernadette a couple weeks ago, but we still want to carry on the tradition of the actual swearing in. Bernadette, go ahead.
Raise your right hand, please. Repeat after me. I, Bernadette and Denise,
I, Bernadette and Danza Perez,
solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
that I will faithfully discharge the duties of trustee
that I will faithfully discharge the duties of trustee
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Repeat after me, using your name. I
I, Frank Sylvester Rossi II,
solemnly swear that I will
solemnly swear that I will
support the Constitution of the United States
support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of mayor
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of mayor
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Okay, I just want to a couple comments here real quick. First off, I want to thank everybody for joining us. Transitions are never easy. We talked about it a little bit on social media and whatnot, but I actually want to thank Christine Fitzpatrick, our outgoing mayor, for a very good couple hours I got to spend with her today. Very informative and a special time. It was a time where Christine, it just emphasized everything I said last week in my public comment about you, the dedication to this village and your love of the village. So again, I want to thank Christine Fitzpatrick for everything she has done in her service to the village of Ballston Spa. I also want to thank my family. I know Bernadette, our families are so very important to us. And running elections is never easy. The support that we've had along the way has been endless from our families combined. I almost feel like I have another mom here, and Donna Martin, kind of my biggest cheerleader along the way. And just again, thank you for everything that you put up with for us to be in these positions right now. So again, thank you. For the residents, it's going to be interesting and an eventful, probably 21 months ultimately, because we're going to probably be doing something to name the official year to January 1st of 2024 in the future. As you know, things got extended through the referendum in the March 15th election to move it to November. So the only question remaining was, what do we do with the official year? Do we start on December 1st or January 1st? The likely answer is probably January 1st, but we still have to do some motion work related to that. Carla, who is not to my right tonight, identify yourself, sir.
Greg Teresi, attorney with Bartlett Palmer Stewart & Rhodes.
And Greg is doing his best here to fill in for Carla, who's working hard with us to make sure that we are official in all ways, shapes, and forms possible. Probably too official, as I think we're manning the longest agenda in the history of the village of Ballston Spa tonight. So I'm going to shut up from the comments here. I got some other things to say later on, but we do need to begin this organizational meeting. And we're going to start with section 1 for those following along, the voice vote question. And I need a motion that the Board of Trustees be polled on all resolutions on the basis of a voice vote
except when specifically requested and required, at which time the vote will be verbally cast as either yes or no. The regular meetings of the Board of Trustees be held on the second and fourth Mondays of each month at 7 p.m. The meeting may be changed to the following day at the discretion of the mayor. Meetings will be located at 21 Milton Avenue, lower conference room of the Ballston Public Library, and via Zoom teleconference. Special meetings will be called by the mayor or two trustees acting together, that upon being notified of the special meeting, the village clerk shall notify remaining members of the board by telephone. The clerk shall provide notice of the meeting to the news media and to the public as prescribed by the open meeting law. Also, the clerk is to notify the members by phone and shall verify if members cannot attend with the other members. The zoning board of appeals shall meet on the final Wednesday of each month at 21 Milton Avenue, lower conference room of the Ballston Public Library, when agenda items exist. The planning board shall meet on the second Wednesday of each month at 21 Milton Avenue, lower conference room of the Ballston Public Library, when agenda items exist. May I have that motion?
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
Motion by trustee Van Densen and seconded by trustee Cormos. Any discussion? We need actual voice vote here one by one, or do we have to go?
Yeah, I would say a voice vote for this one.
Trustee Van Densen,
Yes.
trustee Raymond,
Yes.
trustee Cormos,
Yes.
trustee Baskin.
Yeah.
And the mayor votes yes. Motion carries unanimously. Need a motion that the Board of Trustees adopt the rules of procedure that were attached with the change to make sure that the meeting reads as Monday, not Friday, as Liz caught earlier. We appreciate that. May I have that motion? Motion made. I will second the motion as mayor. Discussion?
The motion is that the meeting is on Monday.
No, this is to adopt the rules of procedure with the change that Liz caught inside the rules of procedure that it was set Friday for meetings, not Monday.
I know there's some other issues for rules of procedures we'd like to discuss. About public comment particularly.
Speak up, Ben, so
Yeah,
people can hear.
so I had this bigger thought that there are a number of resolutions in here that are completely not needing discussion at all, whereas some need might need significant discussion. It's up to you if you want to go into the ones that need significant discussion as their order, or you want to just get rid of the ones that have no discussion. But this one does require some discussion.
I think being that this is up front and talks about procedure of meeting generally and public comment may become needed at certain points here, let's go into this one.
All right, Ben, if you want me to go into this, I know we've emailed back and forth, Frank. I'm pretty adamant about maintaining similar structure to what we have already. I do think it's a good idea to have some public comment after mayor announcements, so that folks now have the agenda and they can make comments about motions that may be voted on prior to voting, so that, you know, if there's some knowledge that the board didn't have that you gave us, that we can act upon that. And there should also be maybe a period of response to those comments before, after mayor announces, but before motions. But I'm pretty adamant. We've just seen the degradation in the past when we get into a back and forth. So I'm against anything where we're doing a back and forth. I think the structure that we have now, where public comments, we respond to those comments, has made the meeting run very productively, very efficiently. And I would make a motion that we adopt that as our rules of procedure regarding public
Well,
comment.
we have a motion currently on the floor that stands from trustee Van Densen. So currently that's the motion being considered. Just for the public that may not have seen the rules of procedure, just for full disclosure here, what is contained therein, I'll read the 16 parts of the agenda for those that may not have seen it. We start with the call to order. Pledge to the flag is number 2. Approval of prior minutes 3. Mayor announcements 4. That seems to be all uncontested at this point. Where things start to change, I believe, in our discussion is the way it's written currently: 5 liaison reports, 6 treasurer's report, 7 presentations, if any, 8 old business, 9 new business items not on agenda that cannot wait until the next meeting. 10, here's the first public comment that was proposed, related only to agenda items, 3 minutes per speaker, which can be extended only in the event of board interaction or discussion with the speaker, to be capped at 7 minutes per speaker. In other words, it's 3 minutes unless one of us has it back and forth. Otherwise, then it can go up to 7 minutes, but obviously there's a hard stop once that discussion's over either way. 11 agenda items for consideration or for consideration/vote. 12 other business. 13 public comment on all village business, 3 minutes per speaker, which can be extended only in the event of board interaction in discussion with the speaker, to be capped at 7 minutes per speaker. 14 is board comments, questions, concerns, which is kind of the so-called last word that we always kind of talk about back and forth here. 15, executive session if necessary. 16, adjournment, voucher, audit. So 14, 15, 16, 1, 2, 3, and 4 seem to be uncontested at this point. It's the things that are happening in the middle.
I would say is the public comment should be go between 3 and 4.
Between 3 and 4 or 4 and 5.
Or 4 and 5, I'm sorry, 4 and 5. That way we make the mayor announcements. If there is anything that didn't make the written agenda, that can be verbally, announced so that people can comment on it before it's voted. Right? And in regards to the problem I see with the back and forth up to 7 is that will could potentially allow one person on the board to monopolize and have multiple people back and forth for 7 minutes. I can foresee 45 minutes, an hour and a half of public comment, which is wildly unproductive and wouldn't be an efficient use of anybody's time. So I think a more structured, everybody gets their 3 minutes before, after the mayor announcements, and we can respond to those comments en masse, much like we're doing now near the end of the meeting. And then at the end of the meeting, we have another 3 minutes for general comment on any topics. And again, with a response. I think that's a very efficient way to run the meeting without having it be monopolized in one way or another. And B, it also, having been a trustee for 5 years, I often find when the back and forth starts, things just get out of hand. And I think if it's much more structured where folks get their opportunity to speak and we respond to those, as we see fit, I think that creates much more decorum and it doesn't open up the door for, essentially the conversation getting away and just not being an orderly meeting.
So there are 2 separate things you're basically saying there. You're talking about the location of it and also the back and forth. Let me address both separately if I can. For 10 years, I've been going to the town of Ballston and town of Milton meetings in addition to the Village of Ballston spa meetings. And I'm trying to take the best of and seeing what's worked, what hasn't worked along the way. The location of it being before the actual agenda items that the public comment would be about is something I've taken from the town of Ballston that's been done successfully for the last, I want to say, about 4 years in that jurisdiction. And the reason it works especially is because in sections 6, 7, and 8, treasurer's report, in 5 also liaison reports, presentations, and old business and new business, number 9, you can actually have somebody make a spontaneous motion and get it seconded. And if that were to happen with public comment already happening, there would be no public comment permitted related to those items. Now, there is something later that talks about adding public comment in those cases if we did have spontaneous motions. And if you're okay with that still existing.
I still think we can do that in mayor announcements. They could be verbally announced and then people have comment after that.
I'm not sure how new business is going to be something independent from mayor announcements necessarily. It's called new business for a reason.
Right, and I don't see why not. Mayor announcements can say in new business, this is what we'll be discussing.
But why are we scared of the idea of giving public comment to any motion that comes up ultimately? Because that's what I'm trying to make sure of when I put these procedures together, that there's no loophole here, that we always have the option to present public comment before a motion is discussed or during a
Well, I
motion is
agree.
being discussed.
I think that makes sense. I guess if you want to leave it there at 10, but again, I would limit it to 3 minutes per speaker with no back and forth.
The only way to change the motion, unless you want to vote on it as is, would be to offer the person that made the motion that was seconded the ability to change that motion. So you'll have to address that with Trustee Van Densen.
Sean, with respect, in practice, I don't think it is as good as you guys have perceived it to be. People feel talked at rather than being able to have a conversation with their elected officials. We heard that over and over this last spring and March. I'm not at this point willing to adjust my motion.
If I could comment, a board meeting is for the elected officials to do business. We are the representatives of the public who elected us. I don't think it's the appropriate place to have a conversation. I mean, any member of the public can make an appointment with you, with us, call us up on the phone, email, whatever, and have a conversation. But this is doing village business. And I think you give the public an opportunity to address, and I agree, keeping it where it's at is fine. Because then everything's been introduced, it's going to be dealt with in that meeting. They can make their comments, is there a law for that, or I'm against it, or I think you should change it. Then we do business. We don't go having a conversation during a meeting. I think it'll lead to endless meetings. I mean, 6-hour village board meetings, which, I don't think is very productive.
Well, again, the only back and forth opportunity is if we open our mouths and engage. If we
Right,
don't
but
engage,
it creates a bully pulpit. That's one person on the board could continue to engage and engage and engage and engage. And I don't see that as being productive.
But we have the opportunity at any point in the meeting to make a comment back to the public or any of us. So that's our right.
Well,
So
I'm sorry to interject, but I feel like I'm hearing a tone that is forgetting that the people that put us here, we are people that work for them. And I would rather err on the side of giving them more opportunity to, share their opinions, speak at these meetings. Ultimately, if that we're here for them. Yes, we're elected, and yes, we have a job to do. And I think we'll be able to accomplish that. And I think with good management of meetings, I do believe Frank can do that. I really would rather err on the side of making sure people are heard with the way that these rules were outlined.
So I'll share my 2 cents. First, I'd like just a question about procedure. So if we wanted to make an amendment, how would we do that to this motion? To what we're
as I stated, because it's a motion that's been seconded, it would have to go and be accepted by the person that made the motion, in this case, Trustee Van Dance.
So we'd have to vote it down and then have a new motion.
Essentially, yes.
How
Or
do you make amendments? How you can?
You can make there could be a separate motion that could be made to amend these procedures. That can be done as well, but the mayor's right. You've got to deal with the first one. There's a motion on the floor currently. If there's a second to that motion, then there's a vote. If there's not a second, then it dies on the floor, and then you can move on to the next matter of business, which very well may be amending the procedures. But once a motion's been made, you've got to see that all the way through.
So did we have a second?
So
I, the mayor seconded, yes.
So just to put my 2 cents in, I'm fine with the location. I think it's actually nice to what we're doing or would do here is actually double the just about double the amount of opportunity for public comment than what it was. So I think we're all on board with that. I think it's good. It's good to see before and after. I am also though wary of open interaction that is not well structured, because we have all experienced a lot of abuse of the process and protocol, people speaking out of turn. And also, I am worried about the time that this will take for back and forth. I think there is opportunity for back and forth, for speaking and responding built in without the additional layer of that. I've never seen a meeting where there is built in back and forth up to 7 minutes like that. That is unorthodox. What I suggest is we double the time essentially that we have for public comment, see how that works, if that meets people's needs. And in the future, we can revisit. But I am also worried about use of the interaction back and forth on both sides of the aisle, and just the length of discussion that will apply.
I am willing to, and we're gonna, this is gonna be up to you, try to reach a compromise here out of respect, because obviously I can count to 3 and I can see where this is going to, but from the discussion, it sounds like the following would be achievable. Leaving public comment related only to agenda items at number 10. I would request popping it back to 4 minutes per speaker, which is the 4 minutes that we're currently used to. Cannot be extended, or we won't use that language, which can be extended, et cetera. We'll just leave it at full stop, 4 minutes per speaker. In number 13, same 4 minutes per speaker, again, hard stop at that point. And also still keeping intact the idea that if a motion is made that is outside the purview of a public comment period, that we do allow a 90-second per speaker public comment, stopping that statement at limited to 90 seconds per speaker, and the leading, which can be extended to a total of 4 minutes per speaker if there is board interaction / discussion with that speaker. And then resuming, after which the board may vote on the motion.
Will there, this last thing you said, won't that not occur with the
Yeah.
first set?
Well, it
It'll
can
happen
happen.
already.
It can happen because you will come back from executive session on occasion and have a motion. And that motion is not covered by the current public comment periods, both of them, because we've gotten past those and come back into session at that point with no ability to have public comment.
Well, can we specify
Yeah.
if motions are made at the end of executive session, that we'll allow the 90 seconds?
The only time in which additional public comment may be permitted is in the event a motion is made that is not identified on the agenda. In those cases, public comment on that motion may be permitted, limited to 90 seconds per speaker, resuming here, after which the board may vote on the motion. It's basically saying exactly what you're asking. We take that deletion.
It's more a semantic thing. I mean, the only time it would happen would be with an executive session.
Yeah, so I don't know why we just don't say that.
Well, you could also technically inside agenda items for consideration or vote, identify that you may want to split a motion or do something different with the motion. And like we're doing right now, recreating it. Now, we could have voted this down and had a new motion that wasn't considered already, for instance, that was an option. Well, there's a new motion. And so we technically should be allowing people to comment at that point on it. Now, most people probably would say, well, I've already had my bite at the apple and I don't need to say it again, but some people might want to for some reason that they feel things have changed.
That's actually a concern of mine. If you're saying that we're gonna have public comment every time a motion may be tweaked or, edited even slightly.
That's not what I said. I said, basically, if you vote up and down a motion or vote down a motion, then try to do a new motion based on it or split a motion. And it's got a remarkably different effect. We're giving the public a chance to speak about that fact. You may like a motion when it's combined, but you may not like the same motion when it's split.
I think we're getting a little too into the weeds with that.
I would again rather err on giving opportunity to the public to weigh in the government, how the government is voting. I don't really personally see how it's that problematic to leave that in there as a.
In the spirit of compromise?
Yeah, I think we're getting there. I could see if there's a brand new motion that is totally unlike any other motion, that I'd be okay with 90 seconds of additional comment. If we are working over a motion that's already in the agenda and trying to come to a compromise about that, people have the ability to give us their input prior to that motion so that we can respond to it and edit that motion. And I don't see a need to then open it up again at that point. Again, I think it'll be cumbersome. I think it'll be like we're negotiating with the whole room, which is difficult. And so that's, I'm worried about that piece, just that piece. If we're trying to negotiate and edit a motion that's already been on the agenda, people have had a chance, I'd rather not open it up all over again to multiple speakers. But if it's a brand new motion that, no one's just came late or something, that makes sense to me.
You could add the word new motion there.
In the opinion of the presiding officer, just to give some ability here to distinguish.
Well, I mean, a new motion,
He's trying to say clearly new motion, so there are semantics unfortunately involved in that. So give the presiding officer the ability to make that determination is what I'm saying.
All right, we'll stop. I'm okay with that. Spirit of
You can try it.
compromise. 90 seconds.
we have the ability to modify this rules of procedure.
Absolutely.
If it does
All right,
during the year, if it doesn't work.
that's true.
I think, first off, I also want to thank Carla Bittner for investing the time and helping us create this and to revise it today. We have not had this before. She feels that it was an omission by us, and we keep learning. We keep getting better as a village. So thanks to her. Make sure she hears that. So just to summarize, and Bernadette, you'll have to determine whether or not you'll accept this. The offer to amend your motion is to change number 10 to 4 minutes per speaker, close paren, and nothing else in that. Number 13, again, 4 minutes per speaker, close paren, nothing extending off that. The paragraph after number 16, the only time in which additional public comment may be permitted is in the event a new motion, in the opinion of the presiding officer, is made that is not identified on the agenda. In those cases, public comment on that motion only may be permitted, limited to 90 seconds per speaker, after which the board may vote on the motion. Would you accept that?
I do accept that.
And do I have a second on that?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? I think I stole Terry's job when I did the voice vote earlier. So Terry, I think you have to call up the vote.
Sure. Trustee Van Danza,
Yes.
trustee Raymond,
Yes.
mayor,
Yes.
trustee Cornell,
Yes,
trustee Baskin,
Thank you for compromising.
Thank you.
Let's go to general resolutions. Training is the first one. I need a motion that whereas there is to be during the coming official year, A, the New York Annual Conference of Mayors Annual Meeting and Training School, B, New York State Conference of Mayors Fall Training School for Finance Officers and Municipal Clerks, as well as schools for Department of Public Works Working Supervisors, and whereas it is determined by the Board of Trustees that attendance by certain municipal officers and employees at one or more of their meetings, conferences, or schools benefits the municipality. Now therefore be it resolved, Section 1, the Village Board of Trustees, the Village Clerk, the Village Treasurer, the Deputy Village Treasurer, Accounting Assistant, Public Works Working Supervisor, and other employees as appropriate are hereby authorized to attend the above listed conferences and schools and others as determined by the mayor. Section 2, that this resolution shall take effect immediately. May I have a motion? Motion by trustee Baskin, second by trustee Raymond. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
trustee Van Danza,
Yes.
trustee Raymond,
Yes.
mayor Rossi,
Yes.
trustee Cornell,
yes,
trustee Baskin,
With respect to mileage reimbursement, I need a motion that whereas the Board of Trustees has determined to pay a fixed rate for a mileage as reimbursement to officers and employees of the village who shall use their personal vehicles while performing their official duties on behalf of the village. Now therefore be it resolved, Section 1, that the Board of Trustees shall approve a reimbursement to such officers and employees at the current IRS reimbursement rate. Section 2, that this resolution shall take effect immediately. May I have that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by trustee Cormos, seconded by trustee Baskin. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Trustee Vandenza, trustee Raymond.
Yeah.
Mayor Rossi.
Yes.
Trustee Ramos,
Yes.
trustee Baskin.
Want to announce our trustee liaison appointments. The following appointments are made by the mayor and will serve at the pleasure of the mayor. Deputy Mayor Bernadette Vandence Perez. Liaison to Department of Public Works, Sean Raymond. Liaison to Fire Department, Bernadette Vandence Perez. Liaison to Police Department, yours truly, Frank Rossi Jr. Liaison to Parks and Recreation, Ben Baskin. Liaison to Library, Liz Cormos. Liaison to Insurance and Human Resources, Bernadette Vandence Perez. Liaison to Sidewalks and Street Trees, Liz Cormos. Liaison to Youth Social Services Agencies, to say that 5 times fast, Ben Baskin. Liaison to Not-for-Profit Organizations, Ben Baskin. Co-liaisons to Senior Social Services Agencies and Senior Welfare. We determined there's a lot of stuff to be covered in this, so we went co-liaisons, myself and Ben Baskin. Liaison to BSBPA, Bernadette Vandence Perez. I need a motion inside our consent agenda clerk appointments that Julia Smith be appointed deputy village clerk for a period of 1 year. Terry O'Connor be appointed registrar of vital statistics for a period of 1 year. Julia Smith be appointed deputy registrar of vital statistics for a period of 1 year. The village clerk be designated the records management officer with the necessary powers to carry out the efficient administration of the preservation of all official village records received by the clerk's office, departments of the village of Ballston Spa, including all personnel and human services records for a period of 1 year. May I have that motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by trustee Vandenza,
Second.
seconded by trustee Raymond. Any discussion?
That's a question. I thought the village clerk is also appointed. No?
I have a 4-year appointment.
Oh, it's 4 years? Okay, thank you.
She's gonna be around for a while. Anybody else?
Trustee Vandenza. Yeah. Trustee Raymond.
Yeah.
Mayor Rossi.
Yes.
Trustee Cormos.
Yes.
Trustee Baskin.
Consent agenda for annual staff appointments. I need a motion that Brandy Burns be appointed Associate Justice, Village Justice for a period of 1 year, and the following individuals be appointed part-time police officers for a period of 1 year. Stephen Porcello Jr., Michael DiMartino, Timothy Hayek, Scott Ostrander, Jason Quinones, Sean Thorpe, Robert Kennedy, Stanley DeLong, Michael Welch, Ariel Santiago, Gregory Happensteiner, Hector Mange, and Kyle Basta. And the following individuals be appointed crossing guards, or following individual in this case, appointed a crossing guard for a period of 1 year, Victor Matthews. The following individuals be appointed fire policemen for a period of 1 year, Stanley DeLong, Boyd Hellman, Thomas Nolan, Patrick Mangini, Carmen Isabella, Robert Kalinsky, Alan Cunningham, John J. Morrissey, Carol Theriault, Helen Sarah, Fred Wittridge, James Wittridge, Christina Stengel. That William Lewis be appointed Assistant Building Inspector for a period of 1 year. Bob Kavanaugh be appointed Fire Code Enforcement Officer for a period of 1 year. Bob Kavanaugh be appointed Inventory Control Officer for a period of 1 year. And that Frank Rossi Jr. be appointed Budget Officer for a period of 1 year. May I have that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by trustee Cormos,
I'll second it.
seconded by trustee Baskin. Any discussion?
I have a question. Doesn't your budget officer position, isn't that part of the job? Does it have to be appointed every year?
Carla told us to.
Really?
Yep. Terry was my witness to that actually in conversation on Friday. So I was as surprised as you were on that one.
Yeah.
Greg, any objection to that?
I would defer to Carla.
John Lapper told me the same thing at your firm, so you were unanimous there. Any further discussion?
Trustee Vandenza. Yes. Trustee Raymond.
Yes.
Mayor Rossi.
Yes.
Trustee Cormos.
Yes.
Trustee Baskin.
Yes.
Okay, I would like to read something here before we get into consent agenda, board and committee appointments. Over the past week, I was told numerous times by our village board members how they wanted me to ensure my committee and board appointments represented a diversity representative of the village. What they apparently didn't realize was that over the last 2 weeks, I painstakingly worked to ensure every committee received a fair review for appointment purposes that included diversity as the defining principle. I want to explain what I mean by that after spending nearly 8 hours last week with the pre-existing trustees, asking their thoughts and explaining the very process I was using to make my appointments. When it came to the boards that are viewed as our two most important boards by many, the planning board and zoning board, I went directly to those boards' chairs who I've witnessed spend countless hours leading those boards very well. I asked them their view of board members who were due for renewal presently and of their alternates who come due every year. In the case of the planning board, Rory O'Connor told me 2 of his 3 alternates barely participated, failing often to show for meetings. After discussing this further and reviewing emails that confirmed this issue for me, Rory and I reached out to Mandy Ryder, someone we all know to be a moderate, and Paul Frederick, who someone told me later is a Democrat, to replace the 2 male alternates Rory highlighted. To be blunt, I didn't ask about the political parties of the alternates being offered or the alternates being replaced because, put simply, I don't care. These boards are supposed to be merit-based boards regardless of what we were shown last week, the filling of Bernadette's CBA slot. Anna told me Karen Martell was not interested. Anna Stanko told me that Karen Martell was not interested to continue as an alternate on the ZBA. So we worked together to determine Mary Price Bush would be an excellent replacement who has tried to stay involved since she barely lost last year in her trustee election. She'll do a fantastic job for us. When it came to the Arts Committee, I didn't just try to replace members on a committee that's failed to gain traction the past couple of years. I stated to Trustee Cormo Saturday, I wanted to let them internally reorganize and generate a plan that I'd like them to present to us in May. And then we can appoint members after we are sure the committee is in a better spot. Liz agreed this was a good idea. For the library committee, I was told by Liz they have a special set of rules for appointments, but our village attorney and I can't determine the validity of that yet. It's possible, but we're not sure. So we're holding over Jim Carter on that board until we find the specific information we need related to the library board. I didn't see this as an opportunity to replace the Arts Committee or Jim, even though I doubt those members are fans of mine. Moreover, Lori Acey joined in on a video supporting my opponent a few weeks back, but when it came to the Police Procedures Committee, Chief Bush and I immediately agreed that Lori did a phenomenal job leading that committee and should continue. With Chief Bush's help, that committee becomes what I believe to be the most diverse committee in the history of the village, with the addition of Homer Nathan this new official year. Again, I didn't care about party politics or election politics. This is about the future of our village and the people best suited or most well-intentioned to help it continue to grow and improve. We'll likely hear about the ethics board members in a bit that Trustee Cormos objects to, despite appearing before them for her ethics complaint last year. Now she claims they weren't even appropriately approved. That's not court clerk Donna Duffy's or fire policeman Lloyd Hellman's fault. They served on the ethics committee well for years. Yet Liz had 2 alternate members she pushed at me on Saturday. When pushed by Bernadette today for disclosure of those names, Liz's 2 proposed candidates from Saturday changed at 3:30 today. If we have to struggle that much to identify members of boards, it probably means we're trying to politically stack the deck at the last minute, especially for a board like the ethics board that shouldn't be made that level of political. Again, I just want the village residents to understand I was asked to embrace diversity by the board, and that's what I had already been doing before and since last week. But diversity shouldn't mean asking committee members and candidates who they support or what their political party is. It should mean embracing people who have a variety of backgrounds and characteristics that will make our boards and committees better while ensuring they want to volunteer their time selflessly. This wasn't, in my view, my chance to employ political patronage. Granted, that patronage is what I feel I saw by the board a week ago, filling vacancies at the last minute and not vetting their choices through Bernadette before her first meeting. I've been upfront and transparent in this process because that's what the residents have asked for in everything we do. I hope everyone can appreciate the results shown in tonight's agenda. Thank you. We have a consent agenda for board and committee appointments here.
Well, I'd like to
Go ahead.
interrupt. I think this needs to go line by line for each member. So I obviously wanted to say that before we made a motion and seconded it. I think we should go line by line.
Do you have any you specifically object to?
I just think, first of all, I guess, as far as the planning committee goes, I don't know why we're replacing the alternates. Alternates don't need to attend unless they're needed to fill in for someone. Have we verified that they haven't been keeping abreast of what's been going on with the planning board? I guess they certainly could do that through meeting minutes or discussions with other people. They've been waiting in the wings to have their chance. I don't know why all of a sudden we've decided that they don't get their chance anymore.
Okay, so you want to eliminate Mary Ellen Mandy Ryder be appointed as an alternate to the planning board for a period of 1 year expiring in 2023, replacing Nathan Ward. Josh Frederick, I'm sorry, did I say Paul earlier? Josh Frederick be appointed as an alternate to the planning board for a period of 1 year expiring in 2023, replacing Michael Ragabaroni. Want to remove those from the consent agenda at least.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I do think we talked to them and what perhaps.
Let's not debate that now. We're just talking about what we want to remove, and we can have the discussion.
As to last minute, this is the first time I've seen today, Mary Price Bush as an appointee, and I think there's another one in here that was, on the top plan. First time, I've seen Steve Springer on, so there's been last minute on both sides. So I think we all know the people that, we're naming, so we can move forward or we can table and do this at the next meeting.
We are not tabling as far as concerned because there's no motion currently on the floor to table, so we continue.
But the other ones are,
Well, should we just stay with the planning board for a second? And
Well,
we make a motion
first
for-
things first, I'm trying to create a consent agenda
Oh, okay.
that we can move forward with, and as you said earlier, eliminate the issues and then push the issues forward at that point. So currently, Mary Ellen Mandy Ryder and Josh Frederick appointments will be taken out. And you asked for Mary Price Bush to be taken out. Is that accurate or no?
no, what we said,
Okay.
so.
And Steve Springer, yes or no? Because you did raise that. Steven Springer, I should say.
Sean, he had a different approach on the
Well,
comprehensive plan.
yeah, the comprehensive plan currently has 13 members, so it's an odd.
14,
It's 14?
yes.
Okay, because I thought.
That's why we try to get to 3, actually, get to odd.
Well, if you wanted to go to an odd, then I would add one more to a 15. I think, frankly, a committee that size is fairly unwieldy to begin with, difficult to come and get a consensus.
Let's pull it out for now, because there's further discussion to be had on that. I think, as Ben, you were witness to a conversation that occurred on Thursday when you and I were seated and talking. So let's take that out. We'll discuss that in a bit. So we'll take it out in its entirety. And is that it?
No,
Okay.
I think.
Well, my understanding is from code that it's actually the board who nominates candidates for the Board of Ethics.
I'm a member of the board, and so I'm nominating members for the Board of Ethics. They're in here, so
So I guess my concern is, again, Lloyd Holman wasn't board appointed. He was just appointed by the prior mayor. There was never a vote on it. And
so you want Lloyd out, you're saying for now.
yeah.
Okay.
And I believe Donna is only a part-time resident of Ballston Spa. She winters in Florida, so she wouldn't be able to attend meetings.
I believe she spent some time in Florida, however, so do I, and that doesn't change my
I
residency.
mean, I would be fine having her as an alternate, but I would rather have a year-round resident be on the board.
So we're going to take Donna out for now. We'll have further discussion. Are we done with that? And we'll go to a consent agenda now on everything that remains. That way we knock out what we need to. That we can agree to, I should say.
So do you want to?
I need a motion that, and if I missed something or messed something up, feel free to jump in, I know you will. Rory O'Connor be reappointed as member of the planning board for a period of 5 years expiring in 2027. Rory O'Connor be appointed chair of the planning board for a period of 1 year expiring in 2023. Paul Dunkelbarger be reappointed as an alternate to the planning board for a period of 1 year expiring in 2023. Anna Stanko be appointed chair of the zoning board for a period of 1 year expiring in 2023. Note, this does not affect her membership that was approved in 2019 as her term as a member expires in 2024. James Jerzak be reappointed as a member of the zoning board for a member of 5 years expiring in 2027. Paul Lasky be reappointed as an alternate to the zoning board for a period of 1 year expiring in 2023. Gary Dale be reappointed as an alternate to the zoning board for a period of 1 year expiring in 2023. Mary Price Bush be appointed as an alternate to the zoning board for a period of 1 year expiring in 2023. Julie Gazitos be reappointed as a member of the ethics board for a period of 2 years expiring in 2024. Carrie Chapman be appointed as a member of the historic commission for a period of 3 years expiring in 2025. John Cromie be reappointed as a member of the historic district commission for a period of 3 years expiring in 2025. The following individuals be appointed to the Committee on Sexual Harassment and Discrimination Prevention for a period of 1 year expiring in 2023. Anna Stanko reappointed. Bernadette Bandanza Perez and Terry O'Connor. Anna Stanko be reappointed as chair to the Committee on Sexual Harassment and Discrimination Prevention for a period of 1 year expiring in 2023. The following individuals be reappointed to the Park and Tree Board for a period of 3 years expiring in 2025. Ed Hirsch, Christopher Williams. The following individuals be appointed to the Committee on Police Procedures for a period of 1 year expiring in 2023. Lori Acey, Kelly Gregory, Ray Otten, Lori Riggs, all for reappointment. Homer Nathan. Lori Acey is reappointed as the chair of the Committee on Police Procedures for a period of 1 year expiring in 2023. May I have that motion? Motion made by Trustee Van Dance. Seconded by Trustee Basket. Any discussion? Hearing none?
Trustee Vandenza,
Yes.
trustee Raymond,
Yes.
Mayor Rossi.
Yes.
Trustee Cormos.
Yes.
Trustee Baskin,
Yeah.
Okay, let's bend now out of deference just to get the last two kind of pieces out of here that I don't think have any issues. Let's get these out and then we'll go back to 6 at this point. I think it makes sense. Consent agenda for miscellaneous. I need a motion that the following banks be designated as the official depositories of village funds, subject to change by resolution of the Board of Trustees at any time. The Adirondack Trust Company and or Generations Bank. The Daily Gazette be designated as the official village newspaper. The village clerk be authorized to send a single letter to the news media providing the schedule of regular meetings. Further, the village clerk shall post a public notice of such schedule on the village website and in Village Hall. The National Bible Museum be designated as the official information center for a period of 1 year and that the agreement be approved. The Brookside Museum be designated as the consultant on history for a period of 1 year and the agreement be approved. The Friends of the Caterosis provide services to the village and the agreement be approved. The Ballston Elks Club provides services to the village in exchange for plowing and the agreement be approved. The Ballston area senior citizens provide services to the village and the agreement be approved. The Ballston area community center provides services to the village and the agreement be approved. The Ballston American Legion provides services to the village in exchange for plowing and the agreement be approved. The Ballston area recreation commission provides services to the village and the agreement be approved. May I have that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Trustee Cormos. Can I have a second?
Second.
Well, hold on. Seconded by Trustee Raymond. Discussion.
I have one edit.
Yes, sir.
For the Ballston Area Community Center, we did discuss raising our contribution to them from 10,000 to 15,000. I think it was in the budget that that's preliminary.
Is the contract showing 10 still?
Yeah.
Liz, will you accept a revision stating that the contract be revised to reflect $15,000 instead of $10,000? Since you were the person that raised the motion
Oh, sure.
and seconded. Okay. Any other discussion?
trustee Baskin.
Yeah.
Trustee Cormos,
Yes.
Mayor Rossi.
Yes.
Trustee Raymond,
Yeah.
trustee Vandenza.
Let's also do this motion, which is a time emergent motion because of the date of the event. I need a motion that the mayor is authorized to release $250 provided to the village by the town of Milton for the Easter egg hunt scheduled for April 10th, 2022 at the Milton Community Center at 310 North Line Road. You have that motion
I'll make that motion.
by trustee Raymond. Can I have a second? Seconded by trustee Van Denza. Any discussion? In this case, all in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? No? Unanimous? Okay, back to the fun part. Let's start with planning board. And I think the best way to handle this is to ask for the motion that I'll do here, and then we can get into discussion here. Motion that Mary Ellen Mandy Ryder be appointed as an alternate to the planning board for a period of 1 year expiring in 2023, replacing Nathan Ward. May I have that motion?
I will make that motion.
Motion by trustee Van Dens. I will second as mayor. Discussion. I think under a circumstance like this, there are questions relevant to things that we are not fully aware of here. I see Roy O'Connor, who is the planning board chairman. Congratulations on being extended tonight, Roy, but perhaps it would be good to have him answer the questions that were raised out of fairness to Nathan and Mandy Ryder in this situation. Roy, if you would.
Well, first of all, thank you for the reappointment. I appreciate the support. If I may, to begin with, it's my understanding, and has been since I was named to the planning board over 7 years ago now, under when I first got appointed by John Morano, I was an alternate. And one of the first things he said to me was, you need to go to all the meetings, because in order to learn how the boards function, you should be in attendance. So I did. And I was then appointed to the board, and I served up until Dave Gills, God rest his soul, passed. And at that point in time, I was named chairman. So I was involved as an alternate, went to the meetings, and it's always been my assumption that that's what you should do. The latest appointments to the alternate positions initially corresponded with me, and I advised them that the meetings were on the village calendar, and it's published on the village website, and that they should come to the meetings, and I've yet to see either one of them. Paul Dunkelbarger has come to the meetings and has participated actively, and I felt that adding new faces might make sense. Thus, I picked people who I know are involved in the village. Both Mandy Ryder is certainly above reproach, in my opinion, as a village resident for years. Has a very strong sense of what the village is all about and the character that it represents. And Josh Frederick is new to the village, but he's the fellow that owns the company that took down Ricketts. And very, very nice young man. Just had a baby boy. Has expressed interest to me in the past of being involved in the village. And I thought that this would be an ideal scenario for him to get involved by being an alternate on the planning board. Thus, I made those recommendations to now Mayor Frank Rossing. Out of the blue, I started to receive emails from Nathan Ward, basically saying that he wanted to be kept up to date on what was happening on the planning board. Out of the blue, I hadn't heard from him in months. This is going through the entire series of meetings with the Episcopal Church, which is a very significant event, and the AutoZone application, which was probably one of the most significant things that's come before the planning board since I've been involved. I have no problem with either one of these gentlemen, except that I've never met them and I haven't seen them get involved. And I think that the folks that I recommended to the mayor should be given strong consideration by this board and cast aside the political aspect of it and look at what the people could contribute. So I hope that answers the questions. If you have any further, please ask away.
So does the planning board at each meeting develop minutes and send them an email to all the individuals and the alternates?
Since we finally have people that can do that, yes, Sean.
Okay. So then they would have been informed without having to attend, correct?
Well, that may be, okay, but they don't learn anything, okay, by getting minutes.
Right.
Okay, the idea of, at least this is my humble opinion, one man's opinion. I don't know what the law is. I'm not a lawyer. Okay, but I learned how to be a member of the planning board by having gone in front of the Saratoga City Planning Board for 10 years when I was working on projects there. I learned what the planning board was doing here under Ed Lake as an alternate. It seems to me to be rational that an alternate, since they are being paid if they go to the meetings, I might add, under the village code, they should come to the meetings. Simple as that. If they don't want to come, that's fine, then they don't get it's not a big amount of money, don't get me wrong, they're certainly not gonna go out and have a party with it. But the reality of it is, if you're going to be an alternate, whether it be on zoning or planning, you need to get the tempo of what's happening in the meetings. You need to see the applicants and see the actual documents and things that are being presented, so you could be a more effective member if and when you are needed.
But it's not a requirement that you attend.
I don't know that. I just think that,
Well,
my
there's
assumption is
nothing
that
in
it
the
is.
code, our code that says there's a requirement. There's nothing in Ballston code.
There you have it, folks.
Okay, fair
Okay,
enough.
one thing, there was a long period that you did not meet, and
That's true too.
one of my problems was trying to discover if you were going to meet. I'd have to call into the village office because it wasn't noted.
Absolutely true. There was absolutely nothing that came before our board for almost a year.
Yeah, so part of it, and I understand there was some sort of with some emails, not the right address, etc. Both of these individuals have indicated to me that they'd like to continue to serve. And I think it's partially the responsibility of the chair to, contact alternates, and, they don't know what the requirements are. Maybe you're not supposed, you don't have to attend meetings. I mean, it would say the village paying them, but it's good for them to attend, and so to encourage them
Well,
and to bring them along.
If I may, Rory,
go ahead.
Ben, you've had the pleasure of being on a planning board in the town of Ballston. Bernadette, you've had the pleasure of being on a planning board in the town of Milton. What do you feel your responsibilities as alternates were at the points you were?
I was never an alternate, Milton, but
Okay.
I was here in the village, and regardless if Anna said I was needed, I attended because I thought it was important for me to learn. I did not need someone to tell me to do that. I would call, Anna, is there a meeting? I would call and take that effort. I would rather defer and appoint people who are gonna, maybe be a self-starter and not have to rely on reading for information, because we don't always get applications before those boards. So I made the effort to call and figure it out.
Ben, go ahead.
In the town of Ballston, typically the alternates do not attend unless they're asked to because someone's missing, but so that's the town of Ballston. That doesn't mean they're not listening in on, from remote, I don't know, but they're not in the room necessarily. So I think part of this is setting expectations, communication by the leadership that sets clear expectations. They seem very willing to meet the expectations of the planning board if they knew what they were. And they don't always know when the planning board meeting is. If they need to be there or you want them there, you should tell them that there's a meeting coming up. But that was my impression, is that they are not getting the guidance that they need. And so there is this miscommunication between you and them.
Well, I would respectfully disagree, Mr. Baskin. All right. I'm readily accessible, and I don't see my role as the chairman of the planning board as a secretary to be responding to the members. I believe the members of the planning board, alternates included, have a responsibility to follow up and find out what's going on. I don't have the staff, to do that. We currently now do finally have people that are working specifically for the building inspector, zoning and planning. And the communications lines have been opened rather, I think, much better than they were before. I'll accept that the communication may have been lacking over the period of time when we had absolutely nothing coming before the board for months. That said, I'll plead guilty that I'm wrong in terms of expecting alternates to attend meetings. Apparently, that's not the case. It's certainly the way I learned, and it's certainly the expectation that I have. And it certainly seems to work for Paul Donkelbarger, whether it works for the other two gentlemen, that's entirely up to them and this board. You're the ones that are voting that.
Now, the present motion on the floor is about Mandy Ryder and Nathan Ward. Out of fairness, if either or both are here, I would happily let them speak, take any questions we have.
So
Nathan Ward.
Hi, Nathan. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks. So I did attend the January meeting. We talked about the school church sign and the brewery and also the bowling alley. Reason why I didn't make it to the February meeting is because I guess there was some switch up of email addresses. Then in January going to February, so I didn't know there was a meeting. I know they're on the village website, but I didn't see, or I didn't check that. I was just expecting an email and say, hey, here's what the meetings are or minutes are. And then I never got an email in the May, like last year. So I'm willing to attend. I just need an email when the meetings are.
Anybody have any questions for Nathan?
No, I think, I've got the same impression, I think. Michael said that he hadn't received anything. I mean, as an alternate, you would expect to receive the same package the members receive. You should. And there was a
Can I
lack of
make a
that.
proposal that we just keep the alternates for a period of 1 year and see how they engage? And Rory, if you see a lack of engagement in the year, then we can replace. But it sounds like there's just misfire on communication one way or the other.
Greg, correct me if I'm wrong on this. Technically, because it's an appointment scenario and there are people currently in those seats, if we fulfill the vote here and it's a no vote, the person in that seat currently will be considered a holdover until replaced at a later date, perhaps.
Correct.
I think under the circumstances, and Nathan, I do appreciate what you said, we have the ability to do as a board right now, kind of a test scenario, whereby if he doesn't fulfill what he's promising, we could reconsider because we haven't given him the 1 year at that point. Would that sound like a fair approach toward it?
To do a holdover, basically.
So we have two choices here: we could table or vote down, I think, which would, I believe you make the motion for that. Which would you prefer to do, I guess, in your opinion? So you want to go through the vote and then we'll officially be a holdover at that point. Tabling would achieve the same, I think, technically.
Yeah, six of one, half a dozen of the other.
Yeah, so I guess it's.
The only thing with tabling is at some point
It's supposed to be re-raised. I would like to maybe secure, as long as Andy Ryder is still willing at some point to be, why don't we table it then, since Mandy is ready, willing, and able, not to have her breathing down your neck, Nathan, but she's a wonderful woman, so don't worry. She's not rooting for or against in that respect. But let's table it then. Could somebody make that motion to table?
I'll make the motion to table the appointment of Nathan Ward and.
Mandy Ryder in this case.
Oh, and Mandy Ryder. Should I do it together with the Josh Regular?
Let's keep it with what's on the table right now, because Mandy's the only one on the table with Nathan.
Okay.
So you're moving to table. Trustee Cormos, second.
Second.
Raymond beat you on that, Trustee Raymond. Let's vote. It sounds like we have to go to a vote now on the table.
Trustee Van Gansel? Yes. Trustee Raymond?
Yes.
Mayor Lawson?
Yes.
Trustee Foremost?
Yes.
Trustee Baskin?
Okay, in the same spirit, can I have a motion, Josh Frederick be appointed as an alternate to the planning board for a period of 1 year expiring in 2023, replacing Michael Ragabarone?
I will make that motion.
I will second that motion. Motion by Trustee Van Danza, seconded by the mayor.
Trustee Van Gansel?
Well, hold on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, we all want to watch a national championship, but we're getting there. Carolina blue all the way. Same spirit here. Should we go to table now? Is that where we're going with this?
Yeah.
Okay, can somebody
Make a motion to table the motion to appoint Josh Frederick.
let me just ask the question here, Ben, out of fairness, because we did offer Mandy and Nathan the opportunity to speak. We probably should allow, if Josh and Michael are here, the opportunity to speak here. Are they here? Either one? Or on Zoom?
Go to town on business, frankly, he would have been.
No problem. And Michael, is he here or want to speak? Don't see a hand on Zoom. So, okay, Ben, go ahead with that motion then to table.
All right, motion to table the Josh Frederick, Josh Frederick be appointed as alternate to the planning board.
Can I get a second on the motion to table?
Second.
Seconded by trustee Raymond. Madam Clerk.
Trustee Van Gentlemen.
Yes.
Trustee Raymond.
Yes.
Mayor Rossi.
Yes.
Trustee Cormos.
Yes.
Trustee Baskin.
Yeah.
Let's go to the bottom one here first, because these are the peer appointment scenarios, and we're going to differentiate with the ethics board. Making a motion, the following individuals be appointed to the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee until this committee's work is completed. Peter Martin, Bob Bush Jr., Steven Springer. Can I get that motion?
Well, I'd like to talk about this before we have. As I stated, I think having one additional member, if you want an odd number, is fine. I think 15 is already too big. If you would like to add additional members as alternates, so that they can fill in if folks are out, I would be open to that.
I think realistically, and we're not in a motion yet, just to be clear, realistically, Ben, you witnessed this conversation, Elemental on her final day at BSBPA. I was at Front Street Social with some friends from the BSBPA, and I asked her, thanks to Ellen for answering this. I asked her, out of the 14, how many are quote unquote active members? Her answer was about 10. The amount of work that this board has is a lot in front of it. We're spending $60,000 plus 30 for the rezoning law work that has to be done. So I asked her, how would you feel at that time? Paul Farnan, I thought was interested. Paul called me yesterday, respectfully declined, still wants to informally attend. We appreciate the interest, Paul. And, thanks for the call ahead of time. That's why Steve Springer is in there now, Liz. I wasn't trying to do a last minute switch up. I just want to keep this at an odd number. I asked Ellen how she felt about the idea of Peter Martin, Bob Bush, and at that time, Paul Farnan, and she jumped for joy at the idea, as Ben can attest, that there would be more hands, more help, more ideas at this point in time. So it wasn't that we went willy-nilly on this. I don't know if Bernadette had an opportunity to talk to Karen Martell on this or not.
I shot Karen an email. I haven't heard back from her yet.
I spoke with her and she, basically said the committee is pretty large. And one of the things on this committee, this is not a regular standing committee like the other committees we have on here, police procedures, sexual hazard. This is a project committee. It is a time limited. They do the work. It's very similar to the economic development plans steering committee, the pedestrian and bicycle. For it to, I think my preference is to leave it up to the committee to think if they need more people and have people, and then, we essentially, rubber stamp when they say, we'd like to add some more people, and then we, approve that. But it's not really, a mayor appoint, it's ongoing. It's a project committee.
Well, technically, it is a mayor appoint scenario. It is a committee that doesn't have any other regulations. So that's.
But there's
that's
no
what you're-
regulations that go with this committee. That's what I'm saying.
Well-
We don't have,
Yeah, and trust me, I asked the question multiple times this last week, what's the cap number on this? And nobody had an answer. So I think that may have been, if that was the intention to cap it at some point, somebody should have done that, if that was truly there.
so I
So,
would either go with alternates or table this until, I think we need, these rule procedures for the other types of committees. A project committee should have certain rules. The standing committees should have rules, to follow open meetings law, to publish their agendas by a particular date before the meeting, because that wasn't happening with many of our boards. There just was no agenda. To notice ahead of time if there is a meeting, if it's a, optional thing. So
so here's my thought, Liz, and I'm hearing you loud and clear, but we also just passed the $60,000 contract with Behan.
Right.
This would probably be the time that we're gonna get more people involved. This is the time to do it because their work started technically April 1st, although I doubt they've gotten very far since the weekend. So I'm willing to ask for the following. May I get a motion that the following individuals be appointed as alternates to the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee until this committee's work is completed. These alternates can be adopted into active members of the board by the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee itself, if deemed necessary.
So.
Peter Martin, Bob Bush Jr., Steven Springer.
Alternate's fine.
Can I get a motion?
What you said.
So moved by trustee Madigan,
I'll say.
seconded by trustee Raymond. Any further discussion?
Trustee Van Dam.
I have to abstain. My relationship with Peter Martin.
Trustee Raymond.
Yes.
Mayor Rossi.
Yes.
Trustee Cormos.
Yes.
Trustee Ballston.
Okay. With respect to ethics board, and we have approved Julie at this point. Julie sent me a note I'd like to read because she is at a soccer banquet at Brickyard, so I hope she's enjoying that while we're enjoying this. Mayor Rossi, as your term as mayor of the village of Ballston Spa begins, this was from yesterday, tomorrow, I'm writing to you as a current member of the village of Ballston Spa Ethics Board. Please note that this email is solely for me and does not speak to the opinions of any other member of the Ethics Board. During the first months of his term, former Mayor Larry Wilbright initially appointed me to the Ethics Board as an alternate member and subsequently appointed me as a standing member. When I was appointed, there were 4 other members on the board: Peter Martin, Mandy Ryder, Donna Duffy, and Lloyd Hellman. Since my appointment, the board met on several occasions to discuss 2 ethics complaints that were filed. Prior to these meetings, I was acquainted only with Mandy Ryder. Though I knew Peter Martin by name and face, I had never met Donna Duffy or Lloyd Hellman. While our meetings did include some small talk regarding family and other general matters, almost all the time together was spent discussing the complaints made to the board. Each member constructively contributed to the complaint at hand and addressed the complaint exclusively on its face, disregarding any information any member may have had outside the complaint. Complaints were investigated and facts were confirmed or refuted. We referred to the ethics code repeatedly to address the complaints and looked to outside references when necessary. For both of the complaints that we were charged with tackling, we unanimously agreed on the resolutions. At no time were personal opinions ever regarded in the decision-making process. As a board, we have worked incredibly well together. The board is diverse in background, occupations, and experiences. While I have to assume that we are all not of the same political party, I cannot swear to it. Politics was not relevant during our discussions as a board. Based on the above, I respectfully request that you consider keeping the ethics board as it now stands intact. It has been an honor to serve on this board for our village. Very truly yours, Julie Gazitos. That was fair, since we are bringing in the board chairs when in question here to give her opinion, since she couldn't attend to a noble event for her family. How do you want to go? I'll give you guys
Again, my understanding is Duffy is not a year-round resident here. I would prefer having a year-round resident in the ethics board.
And also,
Donna Duffy, if you are on, please raise your hand and we'll happily include you, because obviously we're saying something about your existence here. I think I see a hand.
It is, it's Dick up.
It's Dick, well, it's probably Donna on Dick's Zoom.
Right.
Yep, let's try it. Is that Donna Duffy and Dick Duffy's clothing?
Yes, I am.
Sorry to hear that, but Donna, how are you?
Good, good, good. I'm Donna Duffy.
Did you hear the discussion already?
Yes, I've heard all the discussions. I'm attending via Zoom tonight as I am out of town. And I am available to meet with the board at any time via Zoom. I am a full-time resident of the Village of Ballston Spa. I have been on the ethics board for several years. First being appointed by Mayor Romano, then being appointed by Mayor Wilbright. My appointment comes due tonight, and I'm hoping this board sees fit to extend my tenure on the Board of Ethics. I was born and raised here in this village, and it's dear to my heart. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, Donna. Stand by. We may have some questions for you. Anybody with questions?
So it sounds like you're not a year-round resident, correct?
I am a year-round resident.
So you're in Boston Spa 12 months a year.
I am not in Ballston Spa 12 months a year, but that doesn't mean I'm not a full-time resident, Because
You have a full-time residence.
I have a full-time residence in the village of Ballston
That's
Spa.
not the same as a full-time
The state of New York defines a full-time resident as somebody spending 180 days or greater inside the same zone, as I've had to face myself.
And again, I don't want to get into the legal details of it, other than is the person available to meet? And I guess if you're going to do it via Zoom, that's acceptable.
Yes, I am available via Zoom anytime. We listen to all of the village board meetings and everything while we're away to keep up on everything.
But if the governor doesn't extend the emergency, then members have to meet in person. Members of the board have to meet, that, like us, like we could,
Yeah.
I could last week meet by Zoom because they extended the emergency. But if they stop that, then the members, I mean, the public can attend by Zoom, but the members have to meet in person.
Well, this sounds like a scenario where we probably should have an alternate system for the Board of Ethics ultimately, because it is only a 5-member board. I don't feel robbing Donna, who's been a long-term member, of membership because she chooses to go where she wants to go but still is a full-time resident is the correct way to address it. We just paid we paid grace to Nathan and to Michael in the same mentality here that, look, we understand things happen and we gave them another chance at it. So let's be consistent, I would say, but also maybe address, and this is something Julie and I have discussed, and I will announce later, Mayor's Advisory Board on a revision to the ethics code or updating of it, because we sorely need it. It is missing a lot of things that the town of Ballston, town of Milton have. Plus, I think things like this that we're noticing, the lack of staggering that some of us think should happen that needs to be addressed. So
Right.
we have a lot of room to make changes on this. I would ask for a motion that Donna Duffy be reappointed as a member of the Ethics Board for a period of 2 years expiring in 2024.
I will make that motion.
I will second that motion. Discussion?
I still feel we need somebody who can be here in person. And actually, it was very similar with Ed Clark. When he spent his winters in Florida, he stepped down from being a chair and became an alternate for a while. I think it's very similar.
Yeah, I mean, I would be comfortable having Donna as alternate.
Donna, how long are you gone for? Just to clarify that question. Donna, you still there?
We've been gone for 5 months. But we did come home at Christmas for 3 weeks.
That's a significant time away. It's snowbird, which is understandable when you're retired, but I think we want somebody who's here. I mean,
In this day and age, in this world, there is always people that are always attending meetings by Zoom. It doesn't have to be because the state says it or nobody else says it. It just, you can be available anytime.
but I'm saying if they don't extend the emergency, then the members of a board have to meet in person.
That's
Great.
state law.
Greg, do we have room inside redo of the code to name teleconferencing as an option for an external board or not?
That I'd have to research and get back to you.
Yeah, I'd be willing to table this, to work some things out like we did with arts and library. Carla actually recommended tabling, so she could come back and talk about, we also have some questions about method of appointment for some of these, for one person anyway. So I'd be comfortable tabling to work some of this out.
Is that a motion?
I'll make that motion to table this, the ethics, discussion of the ethics membership.
This ethics membership,
For this.
because that's the motion on the floor.
Because
Donna
Yeah.
Duffy, we haven't given Lloyd Hellman an opportunity yet, so we gotta go there in a
Well,
second.
I was thinking just the ethics board as a whole.
Well, there's only one, then there's a motion on the floor. Donna Duffy be reappointed, et cetera. You're motioning to table this motion or no?
Yeah.
Do I have a second?
Second,
Trustee Van Dampton,
Yes.
trustee Raymond,
Yes.
Mayor Lawson,
No.
Trustee Formals,
Yes.
trustee Ballston.
I'd also like to clarify, you said I appeared before the ethics board. I never appeared on the ethics board. They dropped the accusation. So I never went in front of the ethics board. So,
That's important to clarify.
yeah.
So
That's
is it
odd
possible,
semantic.
is
Okay.
it possible to table just in general?
I would like Lloyd Hellman to have the opportunity if he's here. Is Lloyd here? Okay, so what are the concerns specific to Lloyd Hellman, I guess, since we haven't heard anything real here about Donna Duffy? Besides, he wasn't appointed the correct way or voted on the
Yeah,
correct
he
way.
was not appointed by the board, which the ethics code says members should be appointed by the board. They also say that vacancies should be filled by the board. And apparently, the former mayor just filled the vacancy without a vote by the board. So
So is that Lloyd Hellman's fault?
it's not about whether it's somebody's fault. It was done incorrectly.
Is it Lloyd Hellman's fault?
I'm not gonna answer that. It's not something.
Has Lloyd Hellman been on that board and performed his duties?
Mhm.
Well, the question is, do we rubber stamp something that's done incorrectly, or do we not?
People have to be able to trust their government follows their own rules.
It's not about Mr. Hellman, it's about former mayor kind of doing that. It's not about.
So Larry Wilbright is not on our agenda tonight, last I checked. I'll check again. No, no Larry Wilbright. He exited stage left earlier. Lloyd, would you like to say anything?
Well, I've been here all my life. I was born in the village of the old Benedict Memorial Hospital. And anytime the village ever needed me, I've always been here. Not a phone call away in half days.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
How were you appointed? Who told you you were appointed?
John Romano when he was mayor, and then Larry Wilbright.
Okay, but Michael Barbarez
The Bears.
had the position.
No, that was Julie. So we deduced it today, actually. I asked Larry this question too, when we went back into the notes. Julie fulfilled Barabas's position. It would come due now. That's why I did add her on eventually, because I dug back in. You asked me to, I did. I don't sit and twiddle my thumbs in an office. Lloyd and Donna, based on Julie's own discussion, they pre-existed Julie. They are technically, let's assume that was done right for the sake of argument right now, they would be due as well right now.
Right.
So
They are due, I guess, if they're.
I said, for the sake of argument, assuming it was done right, they are due right now, either way. Okay,
Right.
so now it's a question of, do we extend them or not, renew them?
Okay, but
So, I mean, based on that kind of research is needed, and I need to sit down and look at it. I'd also like to table this just to get our ducks in a row. So we
Well,
know exactly the
either-
situation.
Okay, Lloyd's here 12 months a year?
Yeah, board here, never left.
We gotta get you a hobby, Lloyd.
Yeah.
The question is the process that happened for his appointment. That-
Say again, I'm sorry, Brandon?
Well, it would be.
Yeah, so.
Right, but we're saying we have another candidate in mind.
And that candidate is who?
I believe it was Carrie Kerr.
And you brought that to us at 3:30 today, correct?
And some of these we didn't see either, so.
And that's another reason to just table till next week. 'Cause You want to do research.
I don't need to do research. Unfortunately, there's some issues in that appointment. That's
I
the
don't know what
route
they
we want to
are.
go. Well, then maybe you should do your diligence.
I did.
I did in the last 3 hours. It's not good. So
it's
I would rather go with somebody who's tried and true and tested and that we all know is a fire policeman in our area that served this board for how many years, than go off the board over the last 3 hours on somebody that didn't test out the same way. That's just me. What do I know?
Well, it sounds like we need to table it,
Sounds
we
like-
need to share the information, and if we agree with your analysis, then we would stick with it. right?
At this point, I think we should also consider the stability of that board, and I would prefer to go forward with Lloyd, who has been faithful in serving in that position.
How many years has he been on the ethics board?
Gosh, Lloyd, how long have you been serving on ethics? Or serving in the community in general?
No, but serving on the ethics
How
board.
long on ethics?
Romano was at least 3 years ago, right?
Yeah, I'd say 6 years.
I think one thing that we want to discuss is potentially term limits.
Why?
Why? Well,
Because-
So people who want to participate can participate. You know, if there's other people in this.
So again, I'm gonna make the following statement. And I don't mean to pick on you, Nathan, okay? But we gave the grace to Nathan and to Michael tonight. Okay, we didn't have to. Bernadette and I both said, you know what, here's a good way to handle it. Sorry to Mandy Ryder and to Josh Frederick ultimately, but maybe we'll see them later on down the line. But in this situation, you have people faithfully executing. We're finding every excuse known to man to politicize the situation right now. And that's unnecessary, and I don't
That's right.
feel comfortable about that. Let's be consistent. We compromised tonight in a couple places for things that you asked for. Here's a compromise that I think is to the village's benefit based on performance tried and true. I understand the question about Donna. We'll work through that. I see no question on Lloyd Hellman.
Neither do
I
I.
agree.
I'm
Folks.
gonna propose again that we table it and
No.
share your information. And if we agree that the information you're saying about our candidate is true or relevant, then we would support Lloyd Hellman. If we disagree, then we could have further discussion. But we don't know what you know, and I certainly don't think this is the appropriate place to talk about somebody's personal.
I'm trying not to. I'm also trying to stop you from doing something without the information that you should have had yourself coming into this.
Let's
Well,
table it.
Your tabling doesn't mean we won't have the ultimate.
Can I have a motion that Lloyd Hellman be reappointed as a member of the Ethics Board for a period of 2 years expiring 2024? Bernadette, I second the motion. Discussion?
No wonder we get.
Yes.
At some point in time in this village, we have to reward and honor service. To talk about term limits because he's been there for how many years, 5 or 6 years on it, that's term limitable at this point in time. Come on, this board failed to operate for how many years? Julie and company have put it back together, made it something to be proud of at this point. We have to do a lot of work to help with them helping us to get it to a point where ethics matter in this village. For goodness sake, let's do this, do the right thing, and join us in the compromise that we did for you tonight. It's both ways. If-
Mayor Rossi, it's not about horse trading. It's about tabling. We'd like to table.
It's about compromise, Liz.
We've compromised. We've appointed a lot of your people without comment.
Your people.
Other people he's appointed.
Well-
People he's appointed.
Well,
yeah.
just a little secret for you here, Ben. Little secret here. Because they were already in place in most of these cases, or Karen Martell had resigned, they would have been holdovers either way, and you know it. So you haven't given me much of anything tonight when you look at the reality of how the appointment system works. Now, we have a situation where we have an ethics board functioning, and we really want to sit here screwing around with it for the heck of it, because we want to go political in a board. I was told it was too one-sided Saturday, Liz, by you. Too one-sided meaning what? I was told we need diverse boards. We have Julie, who, believe it or not, is a Democrat. Okay, that's my understanding of it. Mandy, who is as moderate as can be, as I know her. Pete Martin, who I don't know what political party Pete is, but he could be any political party. He's just fair, period. Okay, we've known that for years. We have Donna Duffy, who's a court clerk who knows fairness. She watches it every day being doled out in that court when she's here. And Lloyd, oh my. Lloyd will tell you what he thinks at any given time, but as Julie said, when it came down to things, He put personal feelings aside, did what he was charged to do, unanimous decisions down the line, whether or not you were physically in front of them or not, Liz, they did the right thing by you, if that is accurate across the board. I don't know what else you're looking for here. I really don't.
We're looking to table the motion.
There's missing information, there's new information. It's not going to necessarily
You'll
change
never get
the,
anything done
Okay.
if you keep
Man,
tabling everything.
Come on. I got this.
it's not necessarily going to change the composition of the ethics board necessarily. Once we weigh everything, once you share your information, we could all end up on the same page. But I think there's lots of unknowns that just came forward.
Did,
Yeah,
Ben,
I don't-
excuse me for 1 second.
Yeah.
Ben and Liz, did you or did you not work with Carrie Kervin at Smart Growth Ballston?
She was,
Yeah, she's involved.
yeah, so were a lot of people.
I would
So-
ask you to recuse yourself from the vote then.
No, has nothing to do with it.
Why?
You mean every person who was a member of Smart Growth Ballston, I have to recuse? It has nothing to do with it,
What does it have to do with ethics?
nothing.
Oh, recusal, ethics, I think it goes one of
What
the
does
same.
being a member of Smart Growth Boston have to do with ethics?
Today, I had to sign a form for the village after I gave my oath. Thanks,
Well, you're
Terry,
an elected
thanks
official.
for the endless pile of paper today. I do appreciate it. That was a great welcoming to the mayorship here. But it basically asks for things like that, relationships with clubs and corporations, et cetera, which I, believe it or not, this is why I want to fill out the more verbose one, Bernadette, because I don't think it reached nearly the heart of what it probably should. So I'm gonna ask you to give me the one from the state to fill out, because I want to be fully transparent. Putting a dash and saying my brother-in-law's in the fire department here doesn't seem to be very fulfilling, but I know there's probably other things that I would be entangled in, okay? So I get that, and I understand what ethics and recusal have to do with each other. Why don't you?
Again, there's no relevance to what you're saying.
Because you feel that way.
No, you had to sign something because you're an elected official and you also have to deal with.
Did you sign it?
business. I don't recall.
Terry, did he sign it? Liz, did you sign it? Ben, did you sign it? Okay, so we're all elected officials to sign it.
But this
Bernadette,
is-
you signed it, correct?
Oh,
All right, so this is freedom of speech. I think we're getting,
Yeah.
this is freedom of speech. People who are
Whether or
against,
not you should recuse yourself?
people who are against big box development still have a right to serve in this government.
Yeah.
They still have a right to be on an ethics committee or any other committee. You made this argument in town of Ballston, you said I shouldn't be on the town planning board,
You shouldn't.
and the town council rejected that unanimously, saying, yes, actually, they want me. on
John
the
Van
planning board."
Voorst actually said flat out, you shouldn't be. You're
Yeah.
the chair.
I think
And
this
he
is
got over- he's
degrading
not-
this
not- yeah.
meeting.
All right, so let's vote, let's just vote, because I feel like I'm being.
You know what? Not for nothing, Liz. I feel Lloyd Hellman is worth more, and I'm happy to degrade the meeting if it means propping him up for everything he's done for this village.
That's
I
right.
have
Do village business, not to grandstand. So-
I'm not grandstanding, Sean.
Yeah, I
Sean,
have
that's
nothing
exactly what you're
against
doing.
Lloyd
This is not
Hillman.
grandstanding. This is doing what we are
So-
supposed to
so
do
either
for our
table it or
residents.
Call a vote.
Call a vote, then we'll table it.
Village business.
And maybe,
That's not even the order you can do it in, Ben. You call a vote, then
the
table.
vote just came up.
Yeah.
You just.
It's a motion is on the floor and seconded.
Right, so call the vote.
There's nothing to table after that if we vote.
No, I said
Right.
table it or call a vote.
Okay,
That's what I'm saying. He's
Okay.
got it
If
out
you
there.
don't want to table it, then village business.
I'd be willing to
proceeds and
table
we
it
call a
rather
vote.
than to vote against. Personally.
Trustee Van Duzen?
It's a question of Lloyd Hellman.
No, I thought it's a question of tabling.
No, there was no table offered, no second to table. So currently,
Well, I'll second the table.
nobody made the motion to table. Let's
Make
say
the
a
motion.
vote.
We did make the motion. to
No,
table.
you did not. You actually are going back and forth all around. There was
Pretty sure we
no motion to table. Now, if you'd like to make, unfortunately, I call for a vote.
Oh, come on.
Greg?
The discussion of tabling happened many minutes
Folks,
ago.
I think it's,
Can we-
at this point, I think we all know how it's gonna go. Why don't we just call the vote and it's the same as tabling, but there is an active motion on the floor to approve Lloyd Hellman. There's been a motion, there's been a second. If there's not a motion to table it, then call the vote and we can move on to the next subject.
The chair hasn't recognized the motion to table yet, so I'll give you the last chance on this. If you do, or we'll go to vote.
To do what? Sorry.
To table. Make a
I'll
motion
make
to
a
table.
motion.
I'd like to make a motion to table
The appointment
this appointment.
of Lloyd Hellman.
Give it to Raymond. In a
I'll
second.
I'll second that motion to table. The vote.
Trustee Van Danza. Trustee Raymond,
Yes.
Mayor Ballston,
No.
trustee Cormo,
Yes.
trustee Ballston,
May I have a motion to adjourn?
I will make that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
We're gonna stuff Easter eggs tomorrow. If anybody would like to help us stuff Easter eggs, please be at the Elks at 12 o'clock on. We're gonna be doing it into the evening.